Hi, everybody. I'm Lydia. I'm on the marketing team here at Flatiron School, and I want to welcome you to the Meet the Mentor series. In this series, we're interviewing some amazing mentors and who are often facilitators of our courses at Flatiron School and getting to know them and hear their stories. Our guest today is Cass Rogers. Cass is the Director of Advanced Analytics at Risepoint, as well as a data science facilitator at Flatiron School. Welcome, Cass.
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you're working on these days?
Sure. So I actually just changed roles into Risepoint, and so I'm working on getting onboarded and also in meeting a lot of folks, particularly on the student success side. That's going to be the core focus of my role. Is just working with those teams to really improve the student experience for those that we serve.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about your role and kind of what your day-to-day looks like?
Sure. So my role is going to be pretty strategic in terms of the projects that we're taking on for data science. We're doing a lot of machine learning, and we're really trying to upskill kind of the teams that we serve in terms of the AI capabilities. So we're looking to not only generate predictive models, but really bring them to kind of day-to-day use for the different teams so that those models can help inform the decisions that they're making.
Very cool. How has your role changed? I mean, I know you just started a new role, so maybe just kind of in general, how has your role changed in the last 3 to 5 years as AI has evolved?
Yeah, I mean, definitely when I've been in individual contributor roles, AI has just allowed me to kind of work at a much faster pace. You know, it's really like having a sidekick that can kind of help you expedite the things that you would have maybe done anyway, but maybe would have taken a little bit longer. I think the other thing is just being in a centralized analytics function. We work with a lot of stakeholders, and the questions that they come with now are different. They're like, oh, how are we using AI? How can we start using AI? And just the role has always, in analytics, has always been kind of focused on guidance and enabling stakeholders and just having different conversations with them now that the landscape has changed.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular that excites you about AI, or anything in particular that you just think is interesting, like the type of changes that have happened?
I think one thing that sort of excites me is how excited everyone else is, but being able to offer that subject matter expertise to those that we support. And I think one of the things I've always tried to do in working with data scientists is making sure that when we produce something and roll it out, we're really communicating any limitations of that. And I think with AI, one of the things we really need to think about is how we can explain to our stakeholders and end users how bias might be impacting those models and where it's okay to use it and where we need to be more critical in its application.
Yeah, that's really interesting. What are some key or crucial skills to the workplace now from your perspective?
Oh, well, I think the willingness to learn is kind of I'm always looking for people who are willing to learn, especially when thinking about hiring. But I think that just having very much an openness to that seems really critical. And I think also an openness to the way that we're working changing, right? If I think about someone who I might have hired, say, 5 years ago, and what I would expect them to bring into the role in terms of technical skills, I might have expected much more in terms of their foundational abilities. And maybe now I feel that wouldn't necessarily be as much of a critical requirement given the use of AI in the workplace.
Yeah, well, that's cool. That's good, probably good for a lot of people to hear.
Yeah, I think that probably levels the playing field a lot, which good for some people, maybe not for others that have invested more of their time on those core degrees. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as they keep learning and keep up with the new things that are happening, they'll be all right.
Yes.
Can you walk us through your career journey a little bit? Were there any pivotal moments that shaped your path and the decisions you made with different roles?
Definitely. So at one point, I was very much on an academic route. I had done my bachelor's and my master's, and I was studying for a PhD. And during that time, while I was a graduate student, I got really involved in the student experience. I joined committees that were sort of meant to take feedback back to the university I was at and kind of let them know what was going well and what wasn't. And in doing that, I saw various differences across the university. And I thought, well, this doesn't seem right? It seems like everyone should have the same resources and expectations. We're all paying the same amount of money. The degree we're all trying to get at the end is like categorically the same kind of degree, even if the subject matter is different. And so that really led me to just become very passionate about the student experience. And I know that education for myself has been very transformative. It's opened a lot of doors for me, and I want other people to also have access to that. And so as I was wrapping up my studies, a job came up at the university I was studying at to work on their policy side, really, take that a step further in order to collect data and run surveys to really understand what was going on across the institution, and then have the ability to take all that data and findings to committees and make recommendations. So that was really rewarding. The one thing that role sort of lacked for me was the ability to use my full technical skill set. I'd done a lot of coding and statistics during my studies, and I wanted to be able to use that in the same type of role, but that I just didn't have the scope for that. That's actually what brought me over to the US, and started working at a university here where it was sort of the internal business analytics, looking at student retention, student graduation rates, those kind of high level KPIs. And that was good. That was good, but I still wanted to be more technical. I wanted to be kind of surrounded by a full technical team and just really have the opportunity to work much more efficiently. I felt like there were some limitations to what I could achieve on my own in that environment. And so then moved over to kind of K-12 analytics. So looking at students a little bit younger, and just really got to work in that kind of fully technical team. We're all coding together. We were all, using GitHub together. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I took a bit of a step back from that after kind of moving into a leadership position. Just have 2 young kids at home and wanted a little extra time with them, and was able to do some part-time consulting during that time. And then more recently have moved over into this analytics role at Risepoint, which I think really kind of combines all the things I've been interested in for many, many years now, the educational piece, as well as the sort of advanced data skills, as well as the stakeholder communication. That's something that I really enjoy. And I like I said, being in that sort of centralized function where you do get that exposure to kind of what's going on across the business and really being able to kind of go in depth with lots of different stakeholders on lots of different problems.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is there anything that in particular, or a person, anything that inspired you to pursue a career in tech, or to even start those first classes?
Not really. So I think that I would say that in terms of like formal classes, that has not been my journey. Like my journey is kind of like started off on a sort of academic route where it was very much learn what you need to learn to do your thesis. But I think that served me well. Like now I'm like, oh, I'm sure I could tackle anything if I learned to code from scratch. And so that's been very good to have that grounding for myself, that like if I need to know how to do something, I can make it happen. And it does make me very solutions focused with the work that I do. I'm never like, oh, well, I haven't used that tool before, or I don't know, I'm just going to dive in and get something working and get the feedback and move forward.
Yeah. So I know that you said that you learned coding at some point. What point was that? And then like, how did that education play a role?
Yeah, so it really evolved over time. The first coding experience would have been towards the end of my undergraduate studies. So I was running psychology experiments, but in order to create the experiments, these were all visual computer-based experiments. I learned to code in MATLAB initially, and then I learned to code in Delphi Pascal, and that's kind of like an object-oriented language, which was my foundation for then moving into more high-level things. And then on the statistics side, I was using SPSS for statistics, which has some syntax capabilities. But then in terms of like learning SQL and stuff, that wasn't until much later, after I finished studying. And that's when I was in a sort of workplace environment, learning SQL and pulling data every day to answer different queries, different questions.
What is your perspective on tech education today? And then more specifically, like there are so many options for learning. You can teach yourself, you can get a 4-year degree, you can get an associate's, or you can get a master's, or you can go to a boot camp. or you could take online modular, courses. Do you have a perspective on the value of those different types of education?
I feel that all are valuable because they allow lots of different entry points depending on where you're starting. For example, you might have a bachelor's degree, but it might be in a slightly different field, and you want to kind of pivot, right? You want to pivot into tech, or you want to pivot into data science. And I think it's great that there are so many options for people to do that. I do think that depending on sort of the approach that you have, or even just like the structure that you have in those programs, there might be some that are a better fit than others. And those that do have, I really like mentoring, as you may have guessed. I think the ones that do have that more holistic support that's available for students can provide real advantages, especially where that's then tied to career readiness, career skills that are really going to help you when you then go to look for the job. Having worked at places where universities where we would have a lot of computer science graduates and data science graduates, that's often the hard part. Is not only you have the foundational skills and the practices from doing various group work and things during your studies, but then translating that into a workplace where everything is maybe a little bit less neat. There's like an urgent deadline, and like, how do you kind of navigate going from one to the other? And I think especially in a tight job market, you need to be able to demonstrate that you can do that, not in a kind of in like a vacuum of like just within a course where there aren't necessarily the same risks.
Yeah, that's great. It's good tip.
Mm-hmm.
Moving into slightly different oriented questions. What's one lesson from your career that has stuck with you? And then was there a moment where you faced a failure or a challenge? And then how did you grow from it? Maybe that's too many questions to ask at one time.
Let's start with the first one. I think this is going to be with the thing I already mentioned, is learning to code from scratch with not many resources at all. This is when I was studying and no one else is working on the same PhD topic that I was, and it taught me that if I was determined enough, I could do it, even when it was really, really hard. And I do genuinely think that there were so many lessons from learning to code in different languages. So every time I repeated that, I became a lot more comfortable with failing, right? And so maybe that answers one of your other questions, that knowing that it's okay to try and it's okay to fail and just give it a go. I think that really sticks with me. And I think I do tend to bring with me that kind of can-do attitude, even if I don't know exactly what the final solution will look like. It's like, okay, I mean, I know enough to kind of be like, oh, there will be a path forward here. We might just need to try a few things out before we get to it.
Yeah, that's good. So like a growth mindset and resilience, sounds like.
Yes.
That's the keys. Mm-hmm. How did you first get connected with Flatiron School, and what drew you to the school?
This is an easy one for me. So I had heard about Flatiron anyway, but I used to work quite closely with some people who had been through Flatiron School, and then they worked at the company I was at, and so I knew what the training kind of produced, right? I knew the quality of the people coming out of it who had pivoted from sort of a different background into data. And so I thought quite highly of it already from those experiences of people I knew who'd been through it, and were off on their way on their new tech careers. So that was kind of the reason that it was Flatiron School. And then in mentoring in general, I had done some career mentoring for the institution I studied at in the past and had really enjoyed it. I'd done some other sort of data science, data analytics mentoring part-time. So it's always something that's kind of on my radar that I like to be involved in, and just really enjoy sort of the relationship building and the support that I can give others.
Well, that's a perfect segue. My next question was, what inspired you to become a mentor? So is there anything else you would want to speak to, or anything else you want to add to that?
I think I just feel that it is so important to have someone in your corner, and I hope that in some way I can play that role for people that I mentor.
That's great. I love that quote. Has anyone influenced your career knowingly or unknowingly? Let me reword that. Has anyone influenced your career and knowingly or unknowingly mentored you?
There was a manager I had that first job after I finished my PhD who was really a very, very good manager and really taught me a lot about working in a university and much of the bureaucracy that kind of goes into that. But also just, I think, supported me and wanted the best for me, which I think even as I left the role, like we still keep in touch now. And so it's been really nice to have that consistency. And I would say that that's kind of been the case many places I've worked, is that there's often been someone who has played the role of a mentor, and that has kind of, even when I have left the organization, has always sort of reached out to see how I'm doing, and I think has also been helpful, you know, those times when you are applying for jobs and you need a reference. And I think that just having someone who wants the best for you is just been really a privilege to have that.
That's awesome. What for you, what's been the most rewarding part of mentoring students so far?
I think it's about, or the thing, I'm not sure if it's the most rewarding, but it's the place where I feel that maybe there's the most impact in the role of a mentor, is in being able to talk through the sort of nuances of how to apply something. So even, and I think that this is something that I remember that when I was studying, we would have people come in and talk about leaving academia like it was like some crazy idea that you wouldn't just carry on doing research for the rest of your life. And I think that there's the difference between like the, you know, from a statistical standpoint, what's the correct method that you can apply in this given scenario? And then there's the, what do we have to work with? How good is the data? What does the stakeholder want to do with this information? That being able to bridge the gap between those two things, between the kind of the core knowledge that somebody might have about a topic or a methodology, and how we could actually apply that in the real world. I think that nuance is one of the things that I think is most critical to try and communicate and talk through with those who are looking to move into data science, in order to kind of I think just the ability to kind of understand that it's not always going to be nice and neat and clean. And I know that there's like always like data cleaning exercises and things, but I think a lot of the time when people come into companies, and this has happened to me too, like you'll come in and you'll be like, okay, so everything's all nice and neat and organized and everything. And you come in, it's like everyone's working in CSV files, and like it's all kind of a bit messy and gnarly and scrappy. But I think just being able to have a better understanding of like what the reality might be.
That's good. How do you keep your students motivated to keep going?
Well, I think it depends on the student. You know, some people I think have more like internal drive or motivation or goal setting that they're going to stay on track regardless of what happens. And then others, I think that it's important to kind of have that conversation with them. Like, what can I do that will help you? How, you know, are there other, I'm always trying to, know, do they have other commitments? What else is going on that could impact their progress, to support them in that? And like, for example, if they need to sort of take a pause or thing, I know a lot of kind of courses offer them the ability to pause and then resume, which may be better for them rather than kind of struggling through if they don't necessarily have the time to commit at that moment. And ideally, I want to be able to have an open conversation about how to keep them motivated, but I'm also big on accountability. So, right, okay, let's talk about next time we meet, what we're going to have done. And then if it comes to that point and it's not done, then I want to kind of go through and understand what had happened, and if there was anything else they needed or anything they struggled with, and whether there's any like more communication structures we can put in place. Like, is it helpful for me to send you an email and like check in between our meetings, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's good. I like that you consider each person's needs and kind of customized to them.
Yeah.
If you could give advice to someone just starting out in tech, what would it be?
I think my advice would be find a problem or topic that is exciting for you. A lot of the course materials and things are actually, the Flatiron ones are really great because a lot of the time you get to choose like a data set or something, and that's always my advice in mentoring is like choose something you care about. Choose something that you like is really interesting to you. It's going to make it feel so much easier. It's also going to feel like you're learning something and working with something you care about. And I think that has always been important to me. And like the work that I do, I really care about education and student experience. And like that gets me excited and makes me, want to do a great job and dive into problems. And so I think find something that's interesting to you and use that as like your pet project,
Yeah, that's good. It's good advice. All right, moving into just some talk about your general future goals. What's something new that you're learning or exploring right now, and why does it excite you?
Yeah, I'm learning a lot. So marketing has been something I've touched lightly, or maybe like a little bit from a distance, and my role sits within a marketing and strategy division. So I'm learning a lot about marketing, which is new for me, but it's really exciting. It's just a different kind of data I haven't worked with before. Kind of agnostic to what the data is, but just having all these new pieces to play with is exciting. And just also, the other thing that's new for me is I've only ever worked at education institutions or nonprofits. So this is a for-profit company, so that's new for me too. I'm not recognizing a lot of change in that yet, but we'll see how that evolves. Yeah, I think those are the main things.
All right. And then, are there any projects you're working on that you're particularly passionate about?
I'm trying to think what I can share. Just in general, how oh my gosh, I'm not sure how much detail is appropriate here.
That's okay.
I think just taking existing data sources that we have, which could be anything from call logs or academic records, and just trying to make sure that we're really harnessing the information within all that data in a holistic way, right? So we want to make sure that we're not having one team looking at this metric over here and one team looking at a metric over here, and just trying to make sure that everything is kind of cohesive and coordinated in a way that's actually going to mean that we have better outcomes for the students at the end of the day. We're not being too selective in like what we're looking at a specific point in time. We want to make sure we're thinking about it across the entire student journey.
Okay, awesome. And then looking ahead, what's a big dream or ambition you're working towards in your career?
I don't know if I have a big one right now. I feel pretty happy with where I'm at, but I would just say really settling into this role and helping to build out the vision for advanced analytics of the company is, I feel like this is the right place for me, and I feel like there's a lot of opportunity to grow and to learn, and so I just kind of want to stay on that path and I think invest in that for myself and for the company.
Well, that's a good place to be. Awesome. Well, that was all of my core questions. I have some lightning round questions for you.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask them quickly, but you don't actually have to respond to them fast, necessarily. Okay. So our lightning round questions. What's something you're listening to or reading right now?
Oh, so I'm not reading it yet, but I ordered it today. It's the new Booker Prize winner, which is apparently called. I ordered it last night when I saw it from the library. It's called Flesh, and it's like a Hungarian British story. So I'll see what it's about. I have no idea.
That's awesome. What's one tool or product you're into right now?
Oh, I don't think I have a good one right now. I'll just say Teams because like I feel like I'm currently learning all the keyboard shortcuts for Teams.
Okay. When is your next cohort?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have one scheduled. I know they're going to reach out about availability in November, December, so I'm waiting on that.
Okay. Where can listeners find you?
On LinkedIn is a good start.
All right, all right. And then the last one, what made you smile this week?
Oh, I'm trying to think what was in the last week. This is, I don't know, it's a bit of a random one. We rearranged like all the furniture in our house. We got a new couch and stuff, and like our two kids were just really excited about it, about all the changes. And my daughter decided to rearrange her room, and so she rearranged her entire bedroom, and it looks really great. And she's so excited and proud of it. So that's one of the things that made me smile.
That's so cute. I love rearranging my furniture too. That makes me happy.
Yeah, it's amazing the difference it can make.
Yeah, it can give you a whole new feeling, whole new vibe. Well, that was all I have for today. I really appreciate your time.
No, thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you. Hope you have a great day. And I also want to note that I think our mentees, our students, are really lucky to have you as a mentor. And we appreciate you showing up for all of your cohorts.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.